Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Saints have wrapped up day 2 of minicamp. Jameis Winston met with reporters today. I want to let you hear a little bit about what Jameis had to say. But first, here was Dennis Allen when he met with reporters after day 2 of minicamp, talking about the depth at the quarterback position, where, of course, you got Jameis, you got a veteran back up there in Andy Dalton, and the young guy in Ian Book.
We have 4 guys on our roster that have quarterback experience, and that's kind of the way I look at it. And then, obviously, I think we all understand that Taysom brings an element to the football game as not only a quarterback but as a position player and a special teams player that I think is highly beneficial to us as a team. So I like where we're at the quarterback position. We got 3 guys out here repping it right now, and I think all of them are continuing to improve.
Really, the big question, the only question, is Jameis Winston's health. He was one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the NFL last year. The first 7 weeks, the Saints were 5-2. You all know the story. Tears his ACL, and downhill it went from there for New Orleans. It was really admirable that they put themselves in a position to be in the mix for the playoff, despite the shortcomings at quarterback. So, Jameis talking about how his knee feels after being on it now for a couple of weeks.
I feel great. Getting better every day. I'm just ready to get took off the leash. But like I say, I'm embracing this process and getting better.
So, by the way, Jameis was asked if he'd be ready if he could play in preseason games. He said he would be ready, but that's up to Dennis Allen if they're going to play him. First preseason game is August the 13th against Houston. So, as it sits here today, you've got right at about 2 months, a little less than 2 months from the first preseason game. So, if he's out there practicing in OTAs and in minicamp, certainly he would be available for you in preseason games. Do you really want to put him at risk in a preseason game? That's the big question. That's what we'll find out here in a couple of weeks. As Jameis said, that's up to Dennis Allen when that time comes. Speaking of which, as much as we've talked about Jameis' health, as much as we've talked about some of the rookies coming in, it is also, and we've become really comfortable, haven't we, seeing Dennis Allen? And maybe it's because he's been a part of this organization for so long already in 2 different stints. And he was sort of the most obvious choice to become the head coach when Sean Payton stepped down. But Dennis Allen is still entering his first season as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. It's the first time since 2006 that the Saints have gone through an offseason program where Sean Payton wasn't a part of it, Bountygate notwithstanding. But what's it been like so far? First year under Dennis Allen. Here's what Jameis had to say.
I just love DA's approach, how he stepped in and being a commander of men and has showed great leadership and great dialogue with all of us. So I'm very excited and looking forward to the season. We're working with him continuously.
Of course, Dennis Allen is the new head coach, filling that role by Sean Payton, and Sean Payton was the primary play caller, but Pete Carmichael is the constant. He's been riding sidecar with Sean Payton since 2006, and so that's a very natural fit as well with that transition. So here was Jameis talking about what it's like working with Pete Carmichael as his OC.
The great thing is he's been the same guy since when I first got here. His mind, his attention to detail, being in the meetings, he's been basically in that same role. And after the preseason, I got a chance to hear him call plays then. So I'm very used to Pete. And he's been in this scheme for 16 years. Like he's excellent at what he does. And honestly, we trust Pete with this whole offense, because this is his offense too.
I love that he said that it's his offense too. And we've referenced this a couple of times, but in his career, 3 times Pete Carmichael has been the primary play caller in the New Orleans Saints offense, including 2012, the Bountygate year. Each of those 3 years, the Saints were top 6 in the NFL in offense. So it's not like they missed much of a beat when Sean Payton wasn't calling plays. Now, the big question, I think, is not play calling and sequencing. I think Carmichael will be fine doing that. The big question is those 2 or 3 decisions a game. When to throw a challenge flag, when to go for it on 4th down, when to kick a field goal, as opposed to kick a field goal. Those are the decisions that, when to run a fake. Those are the decisions that a head coach has to make throughout the course of a game that we knew how Sean Payton, over watching him for 15 years, was going to handle situations. We don't know what Dennis Allen will do in those situations. And we won't know until we see him in game scenarios. But as far as preparing the team, having them ready to play, having a game plan, we've seen that enough. And I think the Saints will be just fine there. One more from Jameis, though. Loved getting his thoughts on his new target, Jarvis Landry, catching balls for the Saints.
That's one thing about having a veteran guy with great savvy. Like, he's just a baller who knows how to get open, right? And I really admire that so much about him, because it's a part of that where that's the receiver's job, right? Hey, get open. Like, no matter how detailed the route is, no matter, the specific coverage, man, when you find a way to get open, you get the ball.
If you find a way to get open, you get the ball. There's two things about Jarvis that I think we would all agree. For anyone who's watched him from his time at Lutcher, when he was a young player at LSU, now through his pro career, yes, toughness, of course, but as a receiver, number one, the ability to get separation despite not having top-end speed. When Jarvis trained for the combine, he worked out of traction with Mac Chiuili, and Mac told this story. He said, "I've never worked with an athlete that put so much force into their breaks," meaning when Jarvis would run and stop and cut, Mac said he had never worked with an athlete that had so much force on the stop. And because of that amount of force, the ability to change direction quickly and not be carried by the force was incredible. So that's one of the things that sets Jarvis apart. His route running, to gain separation because of his route running, and his hands. Throw in a certain radius, he's going to catch the football. That's a quarterback's dream. And I love that Jarvis is in a contract year. He has got everything to prove to get that final big contract in his pro career, and that's what he's playing for this year. A lot of guys on this roster with a lot to prove and a lot to play for. Those two guys, Jameis and Jarvis, certainly among them. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.